Hello there guys, it's me UnstableVoltage. Welcome back to the second episode of my City Skylines video. In this one I'm going to continue to grow the city and hopefully teach you guys a few more things about the game. In between recording the previous video and this one, I've decided I am going to start building into this forested area. We'll probably expand the residential over here because we are going to need the room. I don't usually like getting rid of forest because you can set up some good forestry industry, but this map has got so many trees on it, especially a huge patch down here. I don't really think we need to worry about that. I will almost certainly end up extending the industrial area this side of the train lines. We can do that with a simple level crossing. This area of industry will probably get moved at some point, and that's a good thing to remember in City Skylines and City Skylines 2. Nothing has to be forever, so never be afraid to bulldoze something, to relocate it, to rebuild it somewhere else if it doesn't work. In the early game, when you are limited for space, sometimes you have to build what you can where you can and then worry about making it pretty later on when you've got money and room to expand. So we'll probably expand down in this direction with the industrial area. One good tip that I do have for you, especially if you are a new player, is try not to get caught out by chasing the demand indicators down here. As you can see, this is showing that I've got full demand for low density residential, medium density residential, commercial, and a little bit of demand for industry. Now, what generally tends to happen with a lot of new players is if you've got demand for residential, you'll go and zone a load of residential, and then that'll disappear and you'll get commercial, so you'll go and zone a bunch of residential, and then that'll disappear and you'll get industrial, so you'll do that, and then once you've zoned the industrial, then the residential demand will pop back up again. And if you are forever chasing this demand indicator, you will just keep adding on and growing and growing and growing the city, and that's what you want to do, but do it on your own terms, because if you grow your city quickly, before you've had a chance for your economy to recover, you're going to have several problems. First of all, you're using up all of your available space. Now, the faster you grow the city, the more residents you get, the more businesses you get, you will be able to get more tax money, which is good. But also remember that as you grow your city, you also need to place more services. You're going to need more power, you're going to need more water, you're going to need more capacity for dealing with dead citizens, you're going to need more capacity for dealing with garbage. And also, as you grow your city, you're going to unlock these milestones, and the more quickly you unlock these milestones, the more quickly you're going to have to start placing extra services down, like healthcare and education and fire and police, and you will end up in a situation where you just can't cope because you're having to spend so much money placing all of these services that you haven't had given yourself enough time to get the tax income. So be really, really careful on that one. If you ever want a breakdown of what is fueling these demand indicators, you can actually click the little city information button to the left of it, or hit the C key on the keyboard, and it'll actually bring up this breakdown here. Now you can also enable citywide policies from here, but we don't get those until the next milestone. But as you can see, for every different type of demand that you can have, you will have positives and negatives that affect the demand. So we've got some low residential demand. For some reason it's showing unoccupied buildings as great demand. I mean, there shouldn't be any unoccupied buildings. That unoccupied buildings should be a negative. But there's availability of jobs, there's free workplaces, and there's happiness. So people want to live here, and there are jobs available in the city. So people want to live here to come and work these jobs. As you can see, if we look at commercial has local demand and taxes. So the taxes, they think the taxes are reasonable. There's local demand for commercial, but unoccupied buildings basically means that there are commercial buildings, or there's land designated for commercial buildings that currently isn't being used, which is why I can't understand why it's showing occupied buildings as a positive on these ones. That's a little bit weird. And if we go and look at industry at the moment, again, that's showing unoccupied buildings as a positive. Local demand, high skill labour availability, so we do have some highly educated people within the city that could work some of the higher end industrial demand jobs, but general lack of labour availability. So we need more people in the city, so we do need to build some residential. Got no office demand or high density residential demand as yet. One thing that we do need to do that happened in the last video is we just unlocked education. So we want to go ahead and get ourselves a school in here, at least, at the very least, an elementary school. Now, I've got lots of different options here because I've got all of the different, like the content creator packs like Dragon Gate, Mediterranean Heritage, and Modern Architecture and all that stuff. And we've got the German, French, and UK packs from Paradox on as well. If these were all turned off, there'd be far fewer options. We can get like a UK primary school. This one's tiny, but if we go in and get like the elementary school, this is far bigger. So this is what we'll go ahead and do over here. We'll put the elementary school in, and I'm going to drop it over here at the top of this grid, and it'll serve all of this residential area. So let's go and put it directly opposite the, well, not let's have a look. Just trying to see if we've got any main arterial roads running through our area, which we don't. So we'll put it right here. It's a good space to put it. So now we have capacity for 1,000 elementary school children. There's only 20 eligible children at the moment, which is not very much, but we are going to be zoning a lot more residential, so that's fine. We do also have some people eligible for high school, college, and university, but all that will sort of disappear over time. So if we go ahead and click on the elementary school, you'll see there's a few different things that we can add on down here. So first of all, we've got the children's clinic, which helps children recover from injuries. We can also add on an extension wing, which will give us an extra 500 capacity. And then there's also a playground, which gives +1 outdoor recreation and well-being, +1 well-being within 300 meters. I'd normally say add this on as quickly as possible. In fact, to do that, we actually need large parks, and we've got the points we can spend. But we don't have parks and recreation until Milestone 4. So we're getting there, and then we'll go into here and we can do that. So I'm not going to worry too much about that for now, but we will continue to do a little bit of zoning over here. In fact, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to actually relocate this slightly further over this way to give us a bit more room to zone over here. Now, relocating doesn't cost me anything because of the difficulty level that I'm playing on. Let's go ahead and put a little bit more residential in over here with our normal 2-lane roads. We are starting to get a bit of sloped ground over here. The closer together these lines are, the more steep the slope, but it's not too bad going on in this direction. So we've got room to do a little bit more. Trying to remember the size of the grid that I was using last time. I think it was 96 by 112. Smells about right. So let's go ahead and do that. So you can see we are getting a little bit of... we are getting just a tiny little bit of jank because of the slope of the terrain, but I think we can deal with that. I don't think it's going to be a problem. So 96, 112. And again, remember, the reason I don't use the grid tool is that the grid tool doesn't give me the same amount of control that I have by doing it manually. If you just want to use the grid tool, that's absolutely fine, but you'll find that the grid tool ends up cutting into terrain quite a lot. So we've got some good space there. We could go ahead and connect these roads up at the side of the motorway and go behind the school, but I don't think we need to do that right now. So let's go ahead at the very least and zone in some more residential. We've definitely got some room for that there. Now, in the last video I said I try not to, but if I build arterial roads, so the whole point of an arterial road is it's designed to move traffic from one place to another quickly. I don't like zoning stuff or building buildings next to these arterial roads. One, it causes lots of problems with parking, but also almost certainly at some point you're going to want to upgrade these roads, whether it's making them wider, whether it's adding tram lines, whether it's adding bus lanes. And the problem with trying to upgrade roads is if you've got buildings attached to them and you want to make the roads wider, it's very difficult to do that without demolishing buildings. So if you leave these roads clear and don't zone anything next to them, then that's not going to be a problem. What you can do is, let's say I wanted to build some commercial along the side of this road. Instead of actually building it along the side of the road, I could build another little road that runs parallel with it and connects to it, and then build the commercial zone on that road. You know, it gives me room to expand. We will end up doing that at some point. Let's go ahead and unpause and allow these houses to start zoning in. We're definitely going to need to get some more. We've got another signature building available, which is the Pop Musician Mansion. Now remember, these signature buildings are free to place. So we can just go and pop this one straight down. We don't quite have room for it over here next to the... what was this one? This was the UK Executive Mansion. What we could do over here is just bulldoze a little bit of this road out and go and do this. So we want to get ourselves... I think this was just an alley, wasn't it? So we'll extend that out this way just a tiny bit. And then we'll do a 90-degree turn and build that across this way. Because what we should be able to do now, because that's quite a long building, is actually pop that on there. Cool. So we could put some trees and stuff around here. We want to do some landscaping on that later. So we definitely want to get ourselves some more... we definitely want to get ourselves some more residential. We're going to end up going this side of Rosewood Street, which is our arterial. There is other places that we can build in here, and we most certainly will. We'll fill this area in as well, actually. We've got some more demand for medium density residential. I can't squeeze another grid square in there, I don't think, but we can almost certainly get one in over here. So let's go ahead and do that. So 112 down by 96. So let's go and connect all of this up. So 96, 112. Always nice when the grid lines are working for you. Yeah, luckily the terrain here isn't too bad, so I don't mind building this here. This is probably the last one we can squeeze in. Yep, that fits in. There we go. It's done a little bit of weird thing with the zoning here. So let's take that out and then put that road back in. Still doing a weird thing with the zoning. It might be because of the terrain. Yeah, it's doing it down here as well. So we go across there, straight across. Now let's just take this bottom one out and try that again. Uh, 90 degrees. There we go. That's zoned in perfectly. So let's go ahead and we'll put in some medium density housing that we had before. If I can find which one it was that I used before. Trying to remember which houses these are. We can actually look up here. So this is UK row homes. So let's go ahead and put some of those in. So I want my UK low density terraced housing, low density semi-detached, Mediterranean, UK medium density housing. We could just put some medium density housing in there. That'd be fine, actually. Let's use the EU medium density row housing, and we'll go ahead and use the marquee tool so that I can leave the end ones free, so that everything lines up in the same direction. And we possibly even get another bunch of them just there. Don't overdo it either. When you're following the demand meter here, if you really overdo it, it's, you know, sometimes when you've got full demand, you think, okay, let's do a massive grid and fill it in, and you might only need one or two parts of the grid done to accommodate that. Now, these EU row homes are actually longer than the UK ones, which means I can, now that these have all built along the edges, I can actually go in and fill in the edge parts. So these will actually look quite nice now because they'll all be facing the same direction. So we've pretty much got rid of all of our residential demand now. We've still got a demand for commercial. We can build some along these streets here. So let's go ahead and go into our commercial, and I'll just use the marquee tool. So there's a couple of places here where we could just put in a few rows. We never want to make these buildings too big. We don't have to use all of the space available. Just put a little bit in, just enough to sort of start moving that meter in the other way. There might be some space like up here. This would probably be a really good spot as well to put in some commercial. So we can go ahead and do that right there. Try and leave corners open if you ever want to expand the roads out. That's the best way to do that. So we definitely want to come down on this side of the road. So let's go ahead and do that with another 2-lane road. We'll come off of the junction here. We're going to go down in this direction. Now this area is quite uneven. Don't know if you can see that, but with the road tool on, there's a lot of hills here. This is a really hilly piece of land. So I'm probably going to want to level a lot of this off. So what I'll do is I'll actually use the terrain tool for this one. So I'm going to use the level terrain tool. We're going to pick a terrain level that we want to keep it at. Probably this level here. So I'm going to right click. And then we're going to try and level as much of this down as possible. Now you can see how deep the terrain is here. It really, really is very, very steep. We'll leave the road, because the road is going to be a high point. So we're going to have a sort of almost like a valley here. So let's start leveling this off towards the roads. Now, don't worry about these massive cliffs. We can sort those out in a moment. We don't want to get too close to our roads. Now, we're starting to uncover... No, it looked like we were uncovering water there. I think it's just the game not catching up graphically. So let's go ahead and smooth all this off. So obviously the hill's going to go down a little bit because we're getting close to the water. So smooth that off. Don't get too close to the edges. Okay, so our river's actually quite high up, while the rest of the land was quite low down. So what we're going to do now with this area is we're going to start smoothing all of this off. We can do this by making some little ramps. Or we can just use the soften terrain tool. We are going to make the brush size smaller, and we're going to make the brush strength a little bit weaker. And just try and smooth these sides off a little bit. We could use the slope terrain tool to do this. But we just want to try and even things out a little bit. We don't want to get too close to the water. We don't want to damage our roads or existing infrastructure. But we're just trying to take off some of the harsh edges, because it's a really, really deep pit that we're going to be building in here. Might be liable to flooding. We'll have to see how this goes. Let's whiz the camera around again. It's much easier to use this soften terrain tool where you don't have a massive cliff, but now we could use the slope terrain tool here to help with some of this, but I think we're okay for now. As long as we're not affecting the road too much, we'll be alright. And again, we don't want to end up going over here and breaching the riverbank. So that's not too bad. It's gotten rid of the sort of the brown terrain. The brown terrain is where it's really steep. Like when you see this colour, it means it's almost like it's a cliff face. So try and smooth as much of that out as possible. And I think that's decent enough without sort of eroding the spot that we've got for the road. So now we've got a little bit more space over here that we can build. So let's go ahead and get over here. So we're going to come out from this side of our arterial. So let's come out in this direction. And again, we'll build a little bit of a service road. And then once we've got that road, we'll go back on to doing the grid. So we'll go back into doing our 96 by... I went the wrong way there, didn't I? Yeah, of course I did. Brain fart. Okay, let's undo that one. Do the road again. So... make sure we're on the corner. This one should be 112. Make sure we're at 90 degrees. 112, 90 degrees. And then we come out this way to 96. There we go. So then we can go back over and start on the grid again. Now, you will get times where you can't put the grid in the same orientation because maybe the terrain blocks you. That's fine, because you can reorient the grid. And we'll be doing a little bit of that shortly. It's turned to night time now, so everything's going to be dark. Let's go in. Can we get another piece in here? 112. We can do, but we're snapping to some other guidelines somewhere that I don't want to be. So let's go out here to 112 at 90 degrees. 96 back there. That should be 112, right? Yep, there we go. So I'm just going to leave the grid lines off and just try and get as many of these in as possible. So 112. Always a lot of numbers on the screen. You do get used to it after a while, like looking at the road length and the angle that you're connecting to and the incline and all of the other stuff. So you do get used to it. But I know that visually it's quite busy. So we'll go ahead and put a few more of these in. It's always worth putting the zones in. The roads are so cheap that it's worth, if you can, planning your roads out in advance. You don't have to zone them right away, but try and have a rough idea of what you can fit in. So like here, for example, I can see I can get another. Now that says slope too steep, because I'm now right at the edge of this sort of valley that I've built in. You can see that zoning here would be particularly difficult because this is right on the sloped edge. So we can't really go in that direction. If I was to try and build in this direction, I'm going to have the same sort of problem as well because we've got this sloped edge there. So we can leave that. But we can still come down in this direction and continue to build the grid over here. So I'm going to do this a little bit more. I know this doing grid building is not the most interesting thing to watch, but let's just go ahead and get a few more of these put in place. Just so that we know how much space we've got. We're starting to get demand for residential again, particularly low density, medium density residentials. Quite a bit of demand for that at the moment. So we've still got space to get some of these in here. Now also remember, when you start building your residential areas much further away from your existing residential areas, then you're going to start getting into problems with needing more services over in that direction. We can just about squeeze that one in. We've got a little bit more room. No, we don't. Not hugely, but that works. We probably want at least one more road going across here. Now this one will have to go up the hill, but I think that's fine. That's actually made a little cut to get through to that one, but I'm all right with that. I'm not necessarily going to be too upset about that. Just those two connections, I think, are probably fine. So let's come out of there. We've got some more roadways now. We're still only a small village. Again, lots of demand for residential. So let's go ahead and throw in some more. Let's use the fill tool. Put some low density residential in here and here. A little bit of a height difference going on there, but I think that's fine. We've still medium density as well, so let's go in again with those medium density EU row homes, and we can put those in over here. And again, I'm going to use that same technique of not using the end ones because I want to be able to orientate all the buildings in the same direction. So we'll do 3 more of those, wait till they've all got buildings in. So the trees should get taken out automatically for these to build. They should remove the trees on their own. The demand's going to drop now. We have got some more demand for industry. And I did say that I'd build industry this side of the rail, which I think is the best thing to do. Now this road here is kind of an arterial road. We can probably still run that through as a level crossing. So if we go ahead and use a 4-lane road, we can build this out from the roundabout here. And all you do to build a level crossing is you literally just go straight through the railway line and it'll do it for you. You don't have to mess around or do anything particularly special there. We're going to go ahead and buy another tile. Probably 2. We're going to buy both of these tiles here. So this gives us a little bit more space to do some zoning for industry. So again, we'll go back to using our normal sort of local road structure. And we want to sort of continue building this grid over here. So we don't have to line it up exactly. We can actually follow the direction of the rail line if we want to. Let's not get too close to the rail line. So we'll come out a little way from this. Let's go to about here. And then we can, we'll leave some space. We'll go down to our 96. Then we'll go across to 112. And this is where we'll complete our grid again. So the ground's a little bit on the slope, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was on the other side of the map. I think that was an autosave popping in there, which is why I got a little bit of stutter. Even after the several years this game has been out, it does still have a few performance problems. Now, we could probably make a much better looking, much more realistic looking industrial area if I wanted to sort of min-max this, but I don't. Yeah, this is quite a steep slope now. We're sloping again into the hillside. So, yeah, 9.3% gradient going up here. We might need to level some of this off, but for now we're just going to go in and put in a little bit of industry. I can't state enough, don't overdo industrial. It doesn't take much to satisfy the industrial needs of a town. Actually, it takes very, very little. We do have some commercial needs. Now, luckily, we have left ourselves a little bit of space that isn't great for building. Certainly not houses, but we can squeeze some commercial into these areas here. We can go a little bit bigger on this block, actually. So that's probably going to cover quite a bit of our commercial needs here. And again, we've managed to keep all of these buildings away from the main arterial road. So if I want to later on upgrade this to a 6-lane road, it should be really, really easy because there's nothing built on either side of it. We are getting a little bit of traffic now. You see we've got quite a bit of taxis. Now, these quite a few taxis. These taxis aren't ours because we don't have a taxi rank yet. These are coming in from another city. How's our school doing now? We're getting more people moving in, by the way, so it's worth having a look. We still only have 93 students in our school right now, which is not many at all. If we go ahead and look at education, we have 116 eligible students. We have nearly as many eligible for high school, so we will want to be getting in some of these additional education establishments, but like everything else, it all costs money. We're still losing money, even though we're playing on easy. At this point, we're actually still losing 2,650 credits an hour, which works out to 62,000 a month. It's actually getting slightly better. As more people move in and more businesses move in, we get more tax money. These are now starting to fill in like I wanted them to. So let me just quickly go back in and do the zoning just along the edges of these to fill them in properly. But if we look at our demand meter now, we're starting to get back to low density. So let's go ahead and get a little bit more low density housing. So I think we'll fill those ones in. That's probably enough for that all to work out. So our electricity production, we just got a chirp there. Our electricity production is not meeting demand, so we're forced to import some from our neighbours. Well, I mean, we're importing all of our electricity from our neighbours. We do have some hills and things up here. If we wanted to consider it, we might be able to get a little bit of power up here, but the wind's just not good enough. So one of these wind turbines is capable of producing 5 megawatts, but wherever I place it, the best that I can get is about 0.7 almost. Really isn't a lot. Now we could go ahead and get something like a small coal power plant. That's not too bad. It does require coal, so there is an import charge for the raw material. And it's 100,000 credits to build, which we can afford. Unfortunately, it does have medium ground air and noise pollution, which is not fantastic. The gas power plant is much better. Still has medium air and ground pollution, but only has low noise pollution. It's a lot more expensive as well, but it does produce a lot more electricity. We can also sell that excess electricity to our neighbours to make a lot more money. But we're not going to be doing that just yet. I am going to end this video here. A couple of reasons. One, I've got a really dry throat and I don't want to start coughing into the microphone because that's not fun for me and it's not fun for you. And secondly, my dogs are going absolutely bonkers right now. But just before we do, we've unlocked Milestone 3, Large Village. Let's go and have a look at that and see what we get. We've also unlocked a new signature building, the Riverside Grill. Let me just pause up while we look at this. So we've got ourselves another cash injection of 450,000 credits. Bear in mind, again, I am playing on the easy difficulty for this series, which means that we're getting 6 times what we would normally get. We've got 8 development points. Now, normally the way it works is When you hit the first milestone, you get like 1 development point, and then on the second milestone you get 2, and then the third one you get 3. Basically, you get more development points per level as it goes. On easy difficulty, you get more of those development points early on, so you can unlock more stuff earlier. We've got another 5 planning permits, which means we can buy, or expansion permits, which means we can buy some more map tiles. Our loan limit is increased by another 400,000 credits. We've now opened the option to do ore mining. We've now unlocked fire and rescue, which is a city service, which means we will need to place it now, because if we look at happiness, it will say, hasn't clocked it yet, but it will complain about the lack of fire coverage. Police and administration, again, another city service that we'll need to place. And that's about it. So thanks a lot for watching. I hope you are enjoying this series of City Skylines 2. Please do consider leaving a like, leaving a comment, and if you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. I'll see you guys on the next video, and until then, goodbye for now.